Welcome. This is page 6, and we're going to go over the questions here for the homework. All right, so today in class, we went over a couple of methods. We can kind of bunny hop to find the distance between 2 points. We can also count from the left of 0 and the right of 0 and add those together. Just to give you a quick example, I think the one we did in class, basically everyone did in class, is the distance between -3 and 5. You could just do by hopping. A lot of folks noticed this was 3 to the left and 5 to the right there. So these have to be a distance of 8 away. Okay? That should be from your notes. So kind of using, there's more than one method, but using any method possible, could I figure out what DF is? So it looks like they didn't list them, but this would be 1, 3, -1, -3. They just labeled every other hash mark. So the distance between -1 and -4 would be 1, 2, 3. And the distance between here and this shorter one must be a little shorter than that. So that's going to take a little doing because I might actually be better to do if it's a little off the hash marks the other way. So remember, another way some folks did it is they subtracted and then they took the absolute value. So you could have done 5, the number to the right, minus the number to the left, -3, and make sure that we get an answer that's positive. So that's what those meant. So that would be 5 plus 3 gives me 8. And I just want to make sure that I get a positive value for the length of a segment. Okay? So using this method, I think this would work nicely. So the one on the right is -1 1/3. The one on the left, so I want to subtract the one on the left. And I want to make sure that it's a positive number. So this gets a little crazy without a calculator. So let me use this calculator. Show you how to do that. We have negative, so 1 1/3. Right, so 1 1/3. I'm trying to type it in a couple different ways, not sure how. So it's 1/3, 1 1/3. So 1 plus 1/3. There it is. That's 1 1/3. And I want to make it negative. So I was practicing typing in a couple different ways, but that definitely looks like -1 1/3. Okay, now I want to subtract minus. And then I'm going to do parentheses, -4 in parentheses. Okay. Cool. Now, I don't think that worked exactly. So you have to be careful how you type this in. So you might notice that it's hard to type a bunch of parentheses and all that in. So maybe a better method would be to write -1 1/3 plus 4, because a minus, a negative is just a plus. So that's another tip that if you can rewrite it, it's going to be easier to put it in the calculator. Okay, so let's start over. We want 1 1/3, so 1 plus 1/3. So that's 1 1/3, and we need to make that a negative. So now we got it. And then we want to just add the number 4. Now that looks about right. That would be 2 2/3. Or I'm okay with you writing this as a decimal. That would also be 2 2/3. Cool? If I look up here, it totally looks like that is the distance. 2 bunny hops and then not a full bunny hop, it looks like 2 equal thirds of a bunny hop. So you could have also done it that way. Okay, FG, let's take a look at that one. If I go from F to G, I go 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to write 3. F to H. You can see I use a lot of colors. F to H. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it says that this is halfway between these. So I think that should be 4 and a half. 4 and a half. G, H, G to H. Looks like I went a full bunny hop and then another half. So that would be 1 and a half. Last one, E to H. Ugh, big ugly numbers. E to H is a big ugly number. So I got to go back to this method. I got to take the number on the left, 3 and a half. Some people might just go, we'll just type that in the calculator. That's also a good technique. 3 and a half minus the 1 on the left. Okay, so minus a negative 1 1/3. But notice that was this 1.333, right? 1.3 repeating. So hopefully you're figuring out, you know what? I think I could have just saved a step and just added, because when I subtract a negative, that's add. Another way to save a step, I could just write it, that's 3 repeating. And last, I got to make sure that my answer is positive. Okay, so 3 and a half plus 1.333333, whole lot of 3's, equals 4.8, I'm just going to round, 4.83. Beautiful. Now that's almost 5. And if I bunny hopped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that looks about right. So I like that answer. All right. Let's take a look at the next group. So it's saying if AC is 16. So we did a question similar to this in class. AC is 16. Oops, lights in my room. Sorry about that. So AB, if this and this all have to equal 16, I'm going to write it like that. I know the first segment, AB, plus the second segment, BC, has to equal the whole thing 16. Another way to write it would be like this. AB plus BC has to equal the whole thing, AC. Okay, so let's just get to work. I've got 1x here and 2 there. So that's 3x. Still have my 7. Got my 16. If we subtract 7 on both sides, if I divide 3 on both sides, I get x is 3. And that's what they asked. Beautiful. Now they're asking, what is AB? Well, AB is x plus 7. That's for sure. But we've solved the mystery of the x. We now know x is 3. So if we know x is 3, we can just substitute that in. So we now know it's 10. If x is 3, then this whole thing has to be 10. Now let's find out, what would BD have to be? Well, BD, and you might want to cover some things up here. It's like some students are like, there's too much going on. Okay, so let's cover some stuff up. If I just had BD there, I'd have BC plus CD has to equal BD. So this is 2x. This would be 3x minus 1, right? And we don't know the whole thing, which is actually what we're trying to find out, correct? So that's what we don't know. We want to know if we added these two together, what would we get? Okay. Well, we know that x is 3. So we can substitute in 2 times 3 We still know x is 3, so 3 times 3, and then take away 1 should tell us the full distance. So 6 and 9, take away 1. Awesome. Now let's take a look at CE. So I'm going to, move my cover up right there. CE, it looks like this whole segment would be this segment plus this one put together. So what is that? Okay, so we have 3x minus 1 and the segment 2x plus 3, and that's what we want to find out. They want me to find out what is the whole thing. Okay, so 3 times x is still 3, take away 1 plus 2 times 3, and then add one more 3. So we get 9 minus 1 plus 6 plus 3. I think I get 17. Now every once in a while, I'm doing the math in my head, I'll make a mistake. So if I make a mistake, just put a little comment on YouTube. And check out the next video to see the rest of the questions. Thanks.